Okay, hi, and welcome back to Ask a Monk. Today's question comes from German 1184. You said in your Ask a Monk series, for people caught up in lust, it is good for them to contemplate the unpleasant aspects of the body. What is the proper way to do that? I did mention this, and I think I mentioned as well that for people caught up in anger, it's good to practice loving kindness. These two meditations are a part of a set of 4 meditations called the Araka Kamatana. Araka means to guard. So the meaning can either be these 4 meditations are meant to guard the person's mind, or there's something that protects you during the time that you're practicing insight meditation or practicing real meditation to see clearly. These are sort of like protection that will help to keep you from getting to the point where you can't getting your mind to the point where you can't practice meditation. So stopping you from falling into great states of lust, great states of anger, and so on. The 4 kamatana or meditations are mindfulness of the Buddha, mindfulness of the loathsomeness or the ugliness of the body, the unpleasant aspects of the body, loving kindness, and death. So these 4 meditations, they have different qualities, and of course these aren't necessary, and I haven't included them in my meditation series, but they can be quite helpful. They are quite helpful, and so they are recommended if you're interested in practicing them. Mindfulness of the Buddha is practical for Buddhists, obviously, for people who consider the teachings of the Buddha to be correct, to be useful, to be beneficial. So thinking about the Buddha as an example, thinking about the Buddha as someone who was a really good teacher, who was the perfect teacher, someone who was free from defilement. So we often think of the characteristics of the Buddha. For instance, that he had great wisdom. We think of the incredible wisdom, and we read through his teachings, and we gain great faith that yes, indeed, this is a person who has great wisdom, and so we should follow his teachings because probably they're going to lead to the result that he says. Because he had great purity, so we read and we learn about the Buddha's purity, and also through practicing his teachings, we come to see that his teachings are incredibly pure. There's nothing dogmatic or there's nothing negative, nothing that is going to lead us to become brainwashed or whatever. That the Buddha was very open-minded, and he was simply giving something that was of use to people, as opposed to looking for students or trying to become famous or so on. And the third quality is that he had great compassion, because he didn't obviously have to teach. He could have sat in the forest and meditated and passed away, but when he was asked to teach, he decided that he would give up his own peace and quiet to give something to other people. There are many qualities of the Buddha, and this is obviously something that's more useful for Buddhists, and I would encourage you to read about the Buddha. One of the easiest ways that Buddhists will do it is to go over the Pali verses and consider each word. For instance, when we say iti piso bhagawa, bhagawa means the blessed one, so he's blessed, and you learn about why is he blessed and so on. But I won't go into detail. Maybe in a future video I'll go through each of these individually. Otherwise, I won't have time. The second meditation is mindfulness of the unpleasant aspects of the body, and this is quite useful to do away with the irrational view that the body is something beautiful. There's really nothing beautiful about the body at all, and it can be objected that there's nothing ugly about the body either. But if you put it on a set of balances, our idea that the body is beautiful is simply due to not paying enough attention to it, whereas our idea that it's unpleasant is actually, I would say, more based in fact. And I'm only saying that as a comparison. If you compare our body to something like gold or diamonds or a flower, say, our body actually isn't on a scale of beauty, isn't very high. And the way you understand this is by going through the parts of the body. So the unpleasant aspects of the body is actually everything. Start at the top. If you start with the hair on your head and ask yourself, what is the hair like? Well, it's like grass that's been planted in the skull, and what color is it, and how does it smell? If you don't wash it, obviously it's going to be unpleasant. So we simply look at the hair, and we're going to see that actually, the hair is not very beautiful. We think, oh, look at how beautiful that hair is, but if you ever cut it off and put it on a plate, would it look appetizing, or would it look beautiful? What we do when we cut our hair off, it looks disgusting, and people who keep their hair after they've cut it are often met with revulsion. And we go through the hair on our head, the hair on our body, our nails, our teeth, our skin, our flesh, our blood, our bones, our bone marrow, our feces, our urine, our liver, our spleen, our heart, and so on. And we go through all of the parts of the body. Now, normally monks will do this in Pali, so we'll start with Gesa, Loma, Nakha, Tanta, Tajo, Mangsang, Naharu, Ati, Ati, Minjang, and it goes on, and we go through 32 parts of the body. And then we'll break them up. So we'll start with Gesa, 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 which means hair of the head, and we'll just repeat that over and over to ourselves, contemplating the hair on the head, in much the same way as we practice insight meditation, except now we're focusing on a conceptual piece of reality, the hair, or the bones, or the skin, or whatever. And that does help you see it clearly. You don't have to say, this is disgusting. You just look at it, and you'll see, well, actually, it's not very beautiful. You don't have to, agree that it's disgusting, but it's certainly not the wonderful, incredible, attractive thing that we think it is. And that helps to bring us back to a more rational state of mind in this regard. The third meditation is loving kindness, and this is very useful after we meditate. Once you finish meditation, you should use the power and the strength that you gain and the clarity of mind that you gain from meditation. Use it to express your appreciation for all other beings and to clear up a lot of the problems that we might have with other people. This is something that really helps with your insight meditation. Helps us to meditate. It helps us to straighten out a lot of the crookedness that we often have in our minds, wishing first for our parents to be happy, then for our relatives, for our family, for the people nearby, for the people in this area, in this city, in this world. Go from my house to my city to my country to the whole world to the whole universe. Start with humans, then animals, angels, gods, whatever, to all beings, extending it out one by one by one. You can do that for like 5 minutes after you finish meditating, or even just a minute or two is fine. And that's useful, technically useful in terms of getting rid of anger. It's in a broader context. It's useful for clearing up our relationships and straightening our mind out. The fourth one is mindfulness of death, and this is quite useful to help us to get a sense of urgency, to help us wake up to the fact that we can't just go on with our lives and live our lives as though we're dead or as though there were no tomorrow or so on, because eventually there's the day of reckoning, and that's our death, and then our whole life flashes before our eyes, and we have to face up, and whatever is strong in our minds, we're going to cling to it, and we're going to follow after that, and we'll have to be born again. If it's a bad thing, we'll be born in a bad rebirth. The way we would be mindful of death, there's many ways. The technical method is to simply say to yourself that life is uncertain, death is certain, life is not sure, death is sure. Life has death as its end. All beings have to die. I too will have to die one day. But you can adapt this, and you can think of. I always used to, when I was in a plane, I would think about the plane crashing, and I would examine my own emotions, because obviously that would be something very very traumatic for me, and so on. So you can use these, and you should use all of these. These are all beneficial. They're all meditations which can be used in accompaniment to the insight meditation. Okay, so thanks for the question. Hope that helps.